What's up, everybody? Let's see. Oh, it looks like it's working. For those of you who are on Discord, you know that I am playing around with a couple of things here on my Stream Deck. So, first of all, happy Monday to everybody. Thank you for tuning in. This is the freemium show. I guess that's what we're going to call it, the free premium version of the extra content that we do. What's up, Daniel? What's up, B-Dubs and everybody else who's over there? And hold on. You go into the live chat channel over on Discord. Hold on a second. Totally not a 10-cent employee. After I was telling everybody, like, basically what I did, I have 3 videos that I'm uploading to Rumble as we speak. They're being processed by Rumble. They're already uploaded. Now, when they get thrown to my Rumble channel at Casey the Host, they should syndicate to my YouTube channel at Casey the Host. And then from there, they should syndicate to my brand new Odyssey channel at Casey the Host. So the idea is to have that redundancy where I can upload once and that it will go to all of them for the ones that I have right now. So I did finally do the Odyssey thing. I didn't realize that Library and Odyssey were the same company, and Odyssey is basically the upgraded version of what Library has been doing. So I'm pretty excited to be a part of Odyssey. Spent some time on it over the weekend, and actually went from not liking the platform all that much a couple of weeks ago to liking it. So pretty stoked about it. And I'm going to start doing some more response videos. Not really a reaction video, but kind of like a response video. And I know that a lot of you have wanted me to do reaction videos for a while, and there's still a Casey Reacts channel on there. And I am going to start putting that stuff together for premium subscribers, so make sure you do that. But again, the Stream Deck thing, the idea is when I go to this scene, it starts recording. And then we go to a commercial break during the radio show, I hit the break button, and then it stops recording. So what that does is it basically records and condenses just the segments of the radio show, which is what I want, okay? Now, if you're on DLive and you want to do clips, all you do is you hit the clip button, and again, it's only 60 seconds, so you got to time it kind of right. And clips, some of them have been really good, but it's not the easiest thing to work with, I get that. But at the same time, at the end of the show, downloading, 3 hours of actual radio show, plus all of the stuff in between the commercial breaks is a little tough to edit down. So the goal is to be able to do this, look at the daily show prep, pick which segment I want to go up, and then be able to throw that up there on the social media platforms and continue to promote the show. So that's the goal. And so far, it worked. So the first test worked. It started this scene, and it started recording. So hopefully when we go to the commercial break, it will actually work. Yay! Amish beard is not gone. No, it's still there. It's still there. I trimmed this a little bit because I have trichotillomania, and so I pull my hair out. It's a form of OCD, and it takes a lot for me to grow a beard. And so I pulled all of this out, and so I basically had a Hitler stash. So I had to shave that down and start over. My mustache grows really quick, so I'm not worried about that. This stuff will be interesting, and I pull out here and here as well. So this is a lot thinner than it was, and then this is all gone. So it's still there. I'm just kind of scruffy right now, so it's just one of those things you gotta deal with. I have some stuff that I use that helps with that, and that actually allowed me to grow out the big beard. So I'm gonna work on using that stuff again. Yes, I have beard oil. I got some new beard oil, which is amazing and absolutely love it. It's way better than the old beard oil that I had, and so that hopefully is going to help. And then I'm going to get some collagen and stuff like that. Collagen helps you grow your beard. For those of you who don't know, it's not just for ladies to take collagen pills. So we'll get into all of that stuff here and hopefully get the beard back. I wasn't planning on shaving as much of the beard off as I did. I went on the largest attachment that I had on the clippers, and it took way more off than I was hoping. So I was hoping to leave a large chunk of the beard. That just didn't happen. So it is not CBD. No, it's not CBD. It is, I can actually tell you what it is. It's on Amazon. It's the nicest smelling stuff that I have ever had. And the problem with men's like cologne and anything that is like an artificial scent for men is basically they're all like Cool Water knockoffs, and Cool Water the cologne. So like everything is like foofy, and I don't know. I don't like that smell. So I got Boss Man beard oil. It's actually like a jelly. So it's thicker than oil. You shake it up, it comes out, it's kind of like creamy. Way better. And I got the Stagecoach scent, which is like tobacco and bourbon, and it is the greatest smelling thing that I have ever had on my body. It's awesome. Absolutely phenomenal. I love this stuff. So Bossman Beard Oil, highly recommend it. No endorsements there, but absolutely recommend it. Yeah, I mean, young chicks do dig Clearwater, I guess, but I don't know. It doesn't smell like man anymore, and like everything smells like it. And a lot of women I run into, and I was talking about this with my wife too. She's like, yeah, it's like everything just like smells the same, and she really likes the Stagecoach. It also gets a thumbs up from my 8-year-old. She approves as well. All right, so we will get into on the radio show today. We'll obviously talk about impeachment. It's good stuff. In the meantime, I've got to take some people to task. So let's go ahead and do that, shall we? So we're going to go ahead and get this all set to go. I got to get my window capture set up because I was cleaning out my computer over the weekend, and it did some stuff, and it messed up my webcam. So at least everything seems to be working right now. All right, so we got to talk about Eliza Dushku. Now, for those of you who don't know Eliza Dushku, I'm actually a big fan of hers. She's a bow hunter, and so like anytime I find like a Hollywood celebrity who's like a bow hunter or something like that, I tend to become a fan. But Eliza Dushku used to be really, really popular. She was in Buffy. She did the sci-fi show Dollhouse, which I think was extremely underrated. But she's genuinely like one of the good people in Hollywood. But she got blacklisted many years ago. And Eliza Dushku got blacklisted by very powerful liberal Hollywood men because she was assaulted and she didn't keep quiet. So she's been abused. She's been assaulted by some of these Hollywood bigwigs, and she did not keep her mouth shut. And as a result of her not keeping her mouth shut, even to the tune of winning $9.5 million in one of those cases where it was seen that she had been retaliated against and her career basically been destroyed as a result of her predators not giving her, or basically, spreading the word that you don't want to work with her, right? So because she was assaulted and because she didn't keep quiet about it, she was blacklisted in Hollywood and not allowed to work. So she was actually, at one point in time, she was seen as like one of the biggest rising stars in Hollywood. But because she didn't allow her abusers to get away with it, her career basically ground to a halt. She's doing a couple of things here and there now, but by and large, her career was completely and totally derailed simply by speaking up about people who had assaulted her going back as young as 12 years old. So anyway, the reason that this is important is because you've got Joss Whedon. Now, Joss Whedon is well known in the geek culture type, atmosphere. He produces a lot of the comic book stuff and the science fiction stuff that's really popular with the geek culture type thing. And he's really huge into comic book stuff. And so Joss Whedon, who's a massive, massive vitriolic liberal, by the way, it got to the point where he was so vitriolic that it was like anything that was even produced by him. He does really good in movies. He didn't do very good on television shows. Every television show he produced just, it failed for some reason. But his movies were always really popular. And it just became one of those things where it was just like, we're just going to maybe not watch his stuff anymore. But then it came out that he was extremely abusive. And I talked about it on the show at the time, and I said, I am exactly not surprised by any of this. And, given his behavior on social media and that sort of thing, I totally was not surprised. But look how long it took for everybody to come forward and basically say, hey, Joss Whedon is an abusive pile of crap. Well, this is all tied into the culture war. And if you're on Discord, Alex and I and others talk about the culture war a lot. Talk about the culture war a lot on the radio show. And the culture war is completely and totally being lost by the right. And it's being lost by the right for a whole host of snobby and stupid reasons. And some of them are, I just don't like this genre of music. Okay, doesn't really matter if you like the genre of music or not, is what they're doing and saying is important. Tom MacDonald is a perfect example of that. And I know that every time we talk about Zuby or Tom MacDonald, there's always somebody, I hate rap. I get it. I do. But guess what? They're really popular. And they are on your side. So instead of pitching a fit about it, how about just like, hey, you know what? May not be my genre of music, but I'm going to go ahead and support them anyway, just because they're out there doing the right thing. And that's what we need more of. And that's how you win that culture war. But Hollywood has been a part of this culture war where Hollywood is out there, of course, they're removing any voices of anybody who doesn't, conform to this ultra leftist orthodoxy. Gina Carano is an example of that. Gina Carano didn't bow to that leftist orthodoxy. She didn't bow to it over COVID. She didn't bow to it over transgender issues. And she didn't bow to it when she talked about cancel culture. And the great irony is she went out there and basically said conservatives will get canceled simply for their political beliefs. Oh, and we've seen this before in history. And then they proved her point by firing her. Now, the problem with them firing her is that Disney kept their mouths shut about Mulan being filmed next to concentration camps in China. Disney keeps their mouth shut about all sorts of human atrocities by China. Disney has rehired many of these producers and directors who have said very similar things to what Gina Carano has said, but in a more hateful way, targeting specific people. For example, Joss Whedon. There's also somebody who works for Disney right now who talked about putting MAGA children through a wood chipper and killing them. And that person's allowed to keep their job. But Gina Carano simply pointing out, hey, one of the ways that the Nazis were so effective in turning everybody against the Jews is that they turned the neighbors against the Jews. They didn't just come for the Jews. They turned the neighbors against the Jews first, so that nobody really cared if the Jews went away. And that's an historically accurate premise. So this is where things get interesting, because Joss Whedon has been brought back into the fold. And the people who fired Gina Carano, one of the producers for The Mandalorian, defended Joss Whedon the other day, and, of course, attacked Republicans and conservatives for the idea that Gina Carano should not have been fired. The false premise that Republicans say you can be fired for anything. That's not what we say, but I digress. But he defended Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon apologized. Okay, people who beat their spouses apologize too. Does that mean that they're still not a spouse abuser? Right. So it was a really awkward and silly way for them to post something and actually prove Gina Carano's point. And now I'm struggling with the idea of canceling Disney because of this. Again, I'm still going through the motions. I haven't talked to my wife about it yet, but just because it's one thing to try and kowtow to the mob, and as silly and stupid as that is, it's another thing to defend a horrendously abusive person like Joss Whedon, rehire them, and then defend that rehiring because he apologized for his abusive behavior, while also defending firing Gina Carano, who never abused anybody. And that's where things get really kind of weird for me. So anyway, Eliza Dushku comes out, and she's basically taking up a position without really throwing it in directly with Gina Carano. But she's basically taking up the position here. She's like, hey, since Joss Whedon's back in the news, since you all rehired him, he's a horribly abusive individual. So let's not pretend that, he apologized for some bad tweets that he sent, and that's why we rehired him. He did some tweets, he apologized for it, and we believe him. No, he's an abusive person. It's not just about his tweets. And this is critical, okay? This is critical. And I'm going to highlight why this is so critical here in just a second. I'm just giving you the backstory here. So Eliza Dushku, once again, is one of the few people in Hollywood courageous enough to come out and highlight what type of a piece of crap this guy really is. So once again, she's catching flack for it, but she doesn't care because she's a baller like that. So I hope the Daily Wire picks her up too. You start getting to people who are actual powerhouses like Gina Carano and Eliza Dushku and things like that. You start putting them in movies where they're allowed to actually shine. I think they're going to do very, very well. So here's why this is so important, because I want to go over to this is my Facebook. So this is a post. So anyway, Eliza Dushku backs powerful abuse claims against Buffy boss Joss Whedon. Now again, a couple of people have come forward, but she's the highest profile one. Most people know who she is. That's because he's a piece of trash with a long history of being a piece of trash. According to Disney, that makes him much better than Gina Carano, who, by all accounts, is awesome. Now, even even Pedro Pascal, who's an ultra-liberal himself, has defended Gina Carano as a human being before. He's not saying anything right now, but he has defended her as a human being before, where he said, even if we disagree, she's a great person, she's fun to be around. So he's not saying anything now, but Pedro Pascal has also made Nazi references about Trump supporters and Republicans in the past, and Disney's not at all interested in firing him, right? Even though you could make a case that firing him would be easier for Disney to do, because most of the time he's in the helmet and you don't see his face anyway. You see his face once per season. Now, he's got that voice, but you could digitally synthesize it, I suppose. So this is important. Now, here's where we get into the culture war stuff. This Rob guy. What are we emulating here? The National Enquirer that our grandparents lived for? In short, some turd named Joss Whedon did something. Meanwhile, some creeps in D.C. did something that threatens all American lives. Choose. No. Rob, you're ignorant. Rob doesn't understand it's all the same. It's all a part of the culture war. Why do you think Joss Whedon even came up? Joss Whedon came up because he's an abusive, horrible person that Hollywood loves because he's ultra-liberal. Gina Carano doesn't hurt anybody, and they hate her and cancel her because she's not a liberal. That's the point. So, of course, I replied, they are intrinsically linked. Failure to understand that is why the right is losing the culture war. Exactly. So essentially what we have here is we have another know-nothing white knight. And for all I know, Rob is a nice guy. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. But you've got this... I get this a lot where I'm talking about various issues. And sometimes it's about a celebrity, or sometimes it's about an athlete or something like that. And you get the stick to the issues crowd, right? And Casey, this isn't important. Nobody cares. Wrong. Everybody cares. Actually, you're the minority in all of that. The other thing is, I don't really care about your opinion, because your opinion about the content of my show is ultimately irrelevant. If I look at the aggregate of my ratings and find out that when I talk about these things, it's not very popular and people tune out, then I'll change my strategy. But you're the minority. But beyond that, so fundamentally naive. You literally have Hollywood dictating what people in this country believe by silencing any dissent. What do you think leads to the stuff in DC? What do you think leads to the rioting in the streets? Media, including Hollywood, controlling the narrative and firing anybody who might challenge that narrative, so that the people who challenge the narrative don't have a voice anymore. That is literally the entire point. And people don't understand it. They just don't. Oh, it's a celebrity, whatever, I don't care. You better care. You better start learning to care, because it's extremely important. If you tune all of that out, I got news for you. Your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids are lost, and so is the country. It is gone. It's kind of like the people who didn't listen to me about net neutrality when I was talking about it under the Bush administration. People are like, oh, this is too complicated. Casey, talk about something else that I can digest. You better learn these issues, because I'm telling you right now, they're going to be the most important issues in your life. You don't think they are. You think taxes, you think immigration, you think police reform maybe. You think those are really important issues. And while they are important issues, I got news for you. These other arcing scenarios, way more important. They steer everything. Defund the police comes from Hollywood. Allowing illegal immigrants into the United States comes from Hollywood. All of this stuff emanates from Hollywood. So you better start paying attention and get your head out of your ass when you start seeing Hollywood controlling the narrative and firing people who challenge that narrative, and hiring abusive people who have harmed other people simply because they're in the good old boys club of leftist hate. You had better start paying attention to that, or you're going to start running into some real issues here in this country, which obviously we're still in the midst of. The point of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, if you think that Hollywood isn't important because they're air quote just celebrities, or you think that music isn't important because, oh, it's just musicians, I got news for you. You're wrong. You are 100% wrong. You are so wrong. And the fact Not only are you so wrong about this now, you're ignoring all of human history with the influence that Hollywood and music has had on changing societies, for better and for worse. If you lose the culture war, you lose everything else. The battle against America started not against her policies and her politics and her ideals. It started with culture. You changed the culture, you start eroding those ideals. Then once you erode those ideals, you start eroding those laws and those policies, that history, and pretty soon you're done. You failed. You've lost. So, yeah, Gina Carano getting fired is a very big deal. Joss Whedon, an abusive, evil person, being rehired and provided shelter by Disney and Hollywood because he's a leftist. At least he's our abuser. Other abusers on the right, no, they're bad, but at least he's our abuser. So we're going to use him. And the reason that they're using Joss Whedon is because not only is he philosophically aligned with them, but he makes popular movies. Joss Whedon makes popular movies in order to manipulate the minds of your kids. That's the reality. They don't care how bad he is. Just like Hollywood doesn't care how bad these pedophiles are. Are they effective at messaging our political view? And if they are, we're going to continue to allow them to do their thing. Harvey Weinstein, huge sexual predator. Everybody in Hollywood knew that Harvey Weinstein was a sexual predator, but they let it go. Why? Because of his power and influence in Democrat politics. People better start paying attention to this stuff. Otherwise, you're really going to lose out. All right, folks, I got to run because the radio show is getting ready to start here in just a minute. Be back in just a couple.